The 2024 Masters. I was fortunate enough to attend, and today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my experience. So they say that going to the Masters is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and please don't hate me, but I've been fortunate enough where I've been able to actually go the last 2 years. In 2023, I was invited by a student of mine, which was absolutely fantastic. When I was able to go with my dad, incredible experience, and lo and behold, my best friend wins tickets in the lottery this year, and I was invited to go, and I was the one to organize the trip. So it was myself and 3 people who had never been before. So I'm going to run you through the day and maybe share a little bit of the experiences and kind of what I felt I learned the second time versus the first time, et cetera, et cetera. And for a little bit of context, so last year in 2023, I went on Tuesday. This year, I went on Wednesday, which was par 3 contest day, which we'll talk a little bit about as well, because a little bit of maybe of a surprise to many, we did not go to the par 3 contest. So here we go. We started the day. We stayed about 90 minutes away in Madison, Georgia. And what I learned from the previous year is I honestly don't feel like you can ever get there early enough. The earlier you get there, the better. People always say that the gates open at 8 and different things like that. But last year, my dad and I got there at 7. And this year, I told the guys that I wanted to get there even earlier because I wanted to get a head start and I wanted to get merchandise tent out of the way. We left a hotel roughly 4:45 with traffic, and by the time we parked, different things like that, we arrived at Augusta or at the golf course at roughly 6 o'clock, 6:15, still pitch dark, but they got lights everywhere lit up. It's like the Super Bowl. And you think there's going to be nobody there, and there's already 10,000 people there. We were in line at 6:30. And I don't know what the rule is, but everyone says the gates open at 8. Well, this morning they opened at 7. And there was honestly still thousands of people ahead of us, but the line started moving at roughly 7 o'clock. And then we kind of started moving our way through. The one thing I'll always say, and I say this about everything about that place, is everything they do just moves so smoothly. There's literally 50,000 people throughout the day, and I can only imagine that more than half of them are trying to get in first thing in the morning. And they do such an incredible job flowing everyone through. Security's a breeze, just absolutely top notch. So we get through the gate, and by the time we got through, it was a little bit after 7 o'clock. Let's call it 7:20. And like I said, the first thing I wanted to get done based off of last year was I wanted to get the merchandise tent done. Because your tickets, you can actually re-enter twice throughout the day with your tickets. And since we got there early, we were parked maybe like a 5-minute walk from the gate. And maybe from where the merchandise tent was all the way around maybe a 12-minute walk. So I just wanted to get merchandise done. And that's what we did. We got there in line. And shortly after we got through, they had closed the merchandise line right before we got there. And a lot of people quickly funneled through, and they were trying to direct people that, hey, you can come back later. But I knew the line wasn't going to be closed for long. And I told my buddies, I said, hey, let's just go stand over to the chipping green for a little bit, and I know that the line's going to reopen. And sure enough, we maybe watched people chip and putt for 10 or 15 minutes, and I could tell that people were starting to congregate again. They were going to open up the line. So we got into the second time, and we go in, and it still blew my mind just how big this merchandise tent is and how much stuff there is. Hey, here's a little secret. On every Thursday, I send an email with 2 things. My favorite golf tip of that week, and either a quote or stat or sometimes even a game that you can use when you practice. I don't want you to miss it. The next one's coming on Thursday morning. Make sure you check the link in the description. Sign up for my newsletter because on Thursday, the next one's coming. Now let's get you back to your video. And it's just such organized chaos. You walk in, and the first thing in front of you is the head covers, the towels, the knickknacks, there's all those different things, and you make your way off to the left where they have all their golf shirts and pullovers and t-shirts, and back to the wall of hats. And it's literally just a wall of I think there's over 90 styles. And you walk up to the person, you say, hey, can I get a 21 and a 76 and a 42? And they just go and grab them for all of you, or for you. But this year I had to make a special stop because I'm sure as many of you know, or I think as many of you know, my wife and I welcomed our first child into the world in January. So I had to go shopping for a little guy. So they have a little kids section, and I was able to go through. I got him a bucket hat. I got him a caddy bib onesie, and I got him a little Masters teddy bear as well. So go through. We go through, we pay, we do all that kind of fun stuff. Full disclosure, this year's bill, $633 US. I had bought a few things for some people this year. It was a lot less than I spent last year. So I was happy I kept the bill under what it was last year. So my buddies and I, we had a spot that we met. And the one thing that is kind of tricky, so obviously no cell phones, no pagers, and like there's no way to communicate. And the thing that we were saying going up is like, there's four of us. Like, if we were to get separated, if you lose somebody, like, we don't know how you find them. And we had kind of said in the group, like, all right, like, hard stop, we're meeting here at 5 p.m. type thing. But like, so we were always we were very clear, like, meet at this post. When you come out of the merchandise tent, go out, walk up, meet at this post. So all four of us meet up at the post after the merchandise tent. Two of us decide we're going to go to the truck. We go to the truck, we come back. And similar to last year, like, it wasn't even 9 a.m. yet. We were already in and the merchandise was done. It was in the truck. It was time to go have our day. We were right by the chipping green, the putting green. We watched them for a little bit, but we wanted to take our first round of the concession. So we go down to the concession stand. We're in between the merchandise tent and, let's say, kind of where number one tee is. There's a huge open area there. And we went down and we got our breakfast sandwiches, and everyone talks about the price of everything and how affordable it is. It is. The breakfast sandwich is $2. Your beer is $5. Your Gatorade, or what they call a sports drink, is $2. Cookies $1. It's so inexpensive. It's funny now reading back at my credit card statement, like, even in Canadian dollars, every time I went to the concession stand, it was like $10 or $11 Canadian. So I kind of had to laugh at that. So we went merchandise tent, concession, we hit the golf course. And having been there before, I was talking with the group driving up. I was like, what was our goal? Was our goal to see golfers, or was our goal to see the golf course? And since I had already been, I didn't care. I said, based on what they wanted to do, I said, let's do that. And the first thing that they said, they all agreed. They said, let's do golf course. I said, well, if we want to do golf course, I said, we're going to do back nine first as early as we can to kind of get that done, because that's the one that I think everyone wanted to see. So we go through, we walk 10 and 11, and I'm sure most of you have heard the story, but the story about the chairs. So people put down chairs, but you can sit in them if they're open. And then if the person whose chair that belongs to comes and taps you on the shoulder, you just give them their chair back. So we walk 10, walk 11, and already the guys that I'm with are marveling about how much downhill 10 is and how much downhill 11 is. And we get down to number 12 tee, and there happens to be a couple of chairs like 5 rows up from the tee deck. And we literally just sat there on a beautiful sunny day. We've got 11 green off to the left. We've got the 12th hole in front of us, and we watched Scotty Scheffler, Tom Kim, and Xander Schauffele, I think, was the other. We watched that group come on through and play number 12, which was absolutely fantastic. It was really like just sitting in golf heaven. So we finished the 12th hole. We hit concession stands again, because there's a nice little concession stand right behind kind of 12, 13. We walked the rest of the back nine, and we come up, and one thing that I was reminded of, which was really cool for me, is number 18. That tee shot is incredibly narrow, and we took the path up the left-hand side, and those two bunkers that you see all the time that guys try not to drive into, they are massive bunkers. They're so big and they're so deep. And the thing, it wasn't that busy when we were up kind of on the fairway of 18. And I took an extra look, and like, from that bunker, you can't see the green. You can barely see the flag. Like, you can't see anything. And watching players hit shots out of those bunkers is incredible, because like, they hit these incredible shots on the right yardage. And it just kind of reminded me how good these guys are just based on that shot. Those two bunkers on the left side of 18, which for them, like, they're kind of driving through the fairway, are ridiculous to hit out of. And they're hitting incredible shots out of there. And we never see it. And I know the Classic, it doesn't do you justice, the ups and downs. The two holes that I think hit me again that really stuck out to me in terms of undulation is the 8th hole, how much that entire hole is uphill. You got to be walking up over 100 feet over that entire hole. And the second shot into 18 is extremely uphill, which a lot of people don't consider when they're hitting, or when we're watching on TV. So we walk up, and it was also nice when we got up to 18 green that time of day, there was almost no one sitting around it either. And it was really cool just to see all the chairs, and my buddies and I were texting afterwards, seeing how many people are around that green, and then us being there and kind of seeing kind of how tight that space is. It would be incredible to be there on a Sunday because they create just an amazing environment, but also very unique to be there when there's almost nobody around at that time. There's still tons of people, but there wasn't 5,000 people around the 18th hole. So we finished the back nine, and then we decide that we're going to, I think we went and got more food. And then we decide we're going to go watch some players on hole number one because we want to do the front nine. So we go up and we go to the front nine. And by this point, it's after lunch. And we start walking up number one. And this kind of comes to our thought about the par 3 contest. We said, well, no matter what, we're going to walk the front nine and see what time it is. I think by the time we got to the front nine, it was roughly 12 or 1 o'clock or something like that. Once we get off number one, we start to get down to hole number two, which has been that new bunker on the right-hand side was redone. But we're starting to notice like there's not a lot of people around. And we know that a lot of the people were off on the par 3. By the time we get to hole number 3, like we're kind of looking around, and the golf course is deserted. There's almost no spectators out there. There's almost no golfers out there. We ended up walking with Vijay Singh, and it was funny. The topic of Vijay came up when we were talking about how old he was. And it's like, wow, why is this guy still here grinding and doing all the things he does? Well, sure enough, Vijay ends up making the cut. But we watched him on hole number 3, hole number 4, hole number 5. We watched him for a while, and we're right on the rope. We're 2 feet away from this guy and everything that he's doing, which was very cool. And hey, thanks for listening to this podcast episode. If you're enjoying it, I have a favor to ask. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or whatever it is, please make sure you subscribe. And also, if you could, just leave me a quick rating. The more ratings I get, the more people see this podcast. The more people see this podcast, the more motivated to put out more content just like this. And if you're watching on YouTube, if you could, please subscribe to my channel. Make sure you hit that bell to get notifications on when I drop more episodes. If you could like it, that'd be great. And if you have any questions or comments, please post them down below. I try to respond to every single one. Thanks again for your support. Now let's get you back to your podcast episode. We took more time on the front nine just because the sun was out and it was warm and we were having our beers, but there was no one out there. There was no one rushing us. So after number 4, we see this path that I know I didn't see before, and there was washrooms. There was just off of number 4 tee. And we go back there, and there's another concession stand. And there's something that not a lot of people know about. There's phones. There's literally landline phones that are there. So what do? I pick up the phone and I call my parents. I really wish that my parents would have answered the phone, but they weren't home. So I left them a message on the answer machine. And obviously, if they just saw the number from Augusta, who knows what they would have thought. So I said, hey guys, Ryan here. I'm okay. I said, I'm literally calling you from the golf course. So a really cool experience where I got to use it's not a pay phone because it doesn't take any money, but I think you could have called anywhere in the world from the phones at Augusta. So we do the rest of the front nine, and by the time we're walking up like 7, 8, 9, like there's nobody on these holes, and it's 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And it was so cool when we were up number 9, because number 9 runs parallel to number 1. And we were up on the left side of 9, which I guess also technically the left side of hole number 1. And we sat up there for a little bit, just kind of talking and shooting the breeze. And you could look around, and I keep saying it was cool. It was just so cool being on that golf course with almost nobody else around. We knew the par 3 contest was going on because we heard all the roars of the hole-in-ones and different things like that. But if you want to see the golf course, Wednesday afternoon is a great time to see the golf course with nobody else on it. I didn't expect it to be, I guess we'll call it that empty. We knew that everyone was over at the par 3 contest. But it was just so cool just to walk in paradise. You've got no cell phones. I'm there with 3 of my best friends just taking in the day. And there's no hustle and bustle. There is nothing around. It kind of makes me think the one thing I'll highlight about your tickets having the re-entry to them is use it. And I'm saying that because I'm thinking back now to the day and the amount of people that I saw walking around with their bags of merchandise, or they're trying to hold their drinks and juggle their merchandise and different things like that. It's just so worth taking the 20 minutes at the start to dump your bags off. So we finished walking the golf course, and by that point, it's like 3-4 o'clock time wise. We sit down kind of at that spot by number one tee and the merchandise tent again. We get some more food, and then we're just discussing, well, do we go to the par 3 contest or not? And we looked at the day and how we felt, and it had been a long day. We had obviously been up very early, and we just hung around that merchandise or in that food area. We relaxed for a little bit, and then we just decided we had seen everything that we wanted to see. We wanted to see the golf course. We wanted to see a ton of golfers. I said, on top of the players that we saw DJ, Cam Smith, Lucas Glover, Brooks Koepka. There was all kinds of golfers there. But we walked the entire golf course. We took our time. We took everything in. And by that point, it was 4:30 or so. And we decided not to go to the par 3 contest. We said we did everything we wanted to do. We saw the golf course. We had a bunch of food. We had a bunch of drink. And we had a drive ahead of us. So we decided to go. And we got on the road. We got out of there at a decent time. And we made our way. And looking back now, I think... So I made the comment earlier that Wednesday is Wednesday's a great day to see the golf course, but honestly, Wednesday I think is the tricky day because there's the par 3, and I don't know because we didn't end up going, but watching the par 3 contest on TV and seeing how many people there was there, I can only imagine what time those people left the main course to go to the par 3 course. And if they did that, I just think it's so unlikely that you could take in the entire main golf course and get over to see the par 3 contest. And I guess, I don't know if I'll ever be back on a Wednesday, but I guess knowing what I know now, maybe I would go take in the par 3 contest. I've seen the main course twice, but we were just having a really interesting debate afterwards on how would you split up that day. Last year when I was there on a Tuesday. It was easier. It was just the golf course. The other thing that we were talking about, and this is just kind of something that I'm just talking about aloud, if you get tickets on a tournament day, I think it would be so hard to see the entire golf course. The 2 days that we've been in our practice days, it's been busy. But I think, if for those of you who have been on a weekend, I'd love for you to reach out to me and tell me, do you see the whole golf course? Or is there just so many people that you're just stuck going to your spot, playing your chair and sitting there and enjoying the day? Because, again, I'm very fortunate to have been twice. If I ever go on a tournament day now, the things that my buddy and I were talking about, like, I'm getting a chair, I'm getting to hole 16 as fast as I can, and I'm plopping a chair down up on that hill, or either behind the tee where that girl that we see every year in the Lily Plitzer outfit's hanging out, and I'm just watching golf all day, and I'm sitting there and I'm having a grand old time. So that's a little bit of a rundown. I've been blessed to be at the Masters twice. I was very lucky to go this year on Wednesday. I had a fantastic day. The weather was perfect. It was so cool to walk the golf course again. Like, it's literally heaven on earth. You don't have a cell phone. You have to be super present. And there was a couple things that really surprised me there. It's obviously fantastic to watch high-level players and the best players in the world work on their game and work through this golf course. It was really cool to watch VJ for over an hour. Like, when he got to 4, which is that really long par 3, like, he hit 5 balls off the tee. And he was talking to his caddy, is it a 4-iron, is it a 5-iron? And you could tell he was grinding so hard. And for a guy who is 61 years old, who's played there a ton and knows the golf course well, or you would assume knows the golf course very well, it was really interesting to see a player work on their game that way, and actually got me thinking. And it's funny because since then, I've had a practice run for an event for some of my players at a course that they all know well, to never just assume, oh yeah, I'm going back to X golf course. You go there, you're working, and props to VJ, I believe 61 years old, to make the cut is absolutely incredible, but not overly surprising because I saw him out there grinding and working his tail off the day before the event, literally Wednesday afternoon. So that's it. Wednesday at the Masters 2024. If you have any questions about the Masters, or if there's anything you want to know, if you're watching this on YouTube, please drop a question or a comment down below. I'll make sure that I respond. If you're watching this on podcast, whatever form it is, just send me a message on Instagram at Robillard Golf or at Ryan Robillard Golf, and I'd be happy to chat. That's it. We'll see you next time. Happy golfing.